mathematicians. Today we see one nice problem from group theory. Okay, let G be a group of order 7. Then the center of G is isomorphic to which of the following group? It is Z1. So usually Z2 means it contains 0, 1, Z3 means it contains 0, 1, 2, and so on. By notation, Z1 just consists of singleton 0. It is a common terminology. Okay. So center of G is isomorphic to Z1, Z7, Z11, Z77. That is the question. Okay, let's continue. So first we see a very important result from group theory. Let G be a group of order PQ, where P and Q are primes and P less than Q. Okay, so basically we are looking at a group of order PQ. Suppose P doesn't divides Q minus 1. So we take Q to be the largest prime and we are assuming that P doesn't divides Q minus 1. We claim that in this case G is even a cyclic group. Okay. So G is cyclic means that G is isomorphic to the group ZPQ. Okay. Okay. Let's see why this result is true. The proof is very simple, but it involves many important group theory result. Okay. Okay. Now, from the third Silo theorem, we know that number of Q Silo subgroup is of the form 1 plus Qk. Okay. And this 1 plus Qk should divide order of the group. Order of the group is PQ, where this K is a non-negative integer. That is a very important thing. Now, let's discuss this condition bit more. 1 plus qk divides pq implies 1 plus qk divides p. Why? If A divides bc and A and c are relatively prime, then A divides b. This is a simple result. You can try to prove by yourself. So now 1 plus qk and q is relatively prime. Okay, they cannot have a common divisor. Therefore, why they cannot have a common divisor? It is easy to prove. Suppose D divides some divisor, D divides 1 plus qk and D divides q, then D will divides their difference also. Okay, so this implies D divides 1 plus qk. D divides, if D divides q, then D divides qk also. So this implies their difference. D will divides their difference. So difference of 1 plus qk and qk is 1. So but D divides 1, it implies D equal to 1. Therefore, the only common divisor of 1, therefore 1 plus qk and q are relatively prime. So we can use this result to conclude that 1 plus qk divides p. Now, p is a number smaller than q. We assume that q is the larger prime, and 1 plus qk will, if k is a positive integer, then 1 plus qk will be a very big number than p. So one big number cannot divide the smallest number. Therefore, k should be 0. If k is 0, then 1 plus qk equal to 1. But this 1 plus qk is the number of q Euler subgroups of G. Therefore, the group G has a unique q Euler subgroup. We call this subgroup H. Okay, so let H be a q Euler subgroup. And you see, order of G is PQ, and the largest power of Q dividing order of G is Q power 1, right? So order of this subgroup will be equal to Q. Okay. So in general, you suppose if you have a P power K, then Q power N, some number, then the order of the Q Euler subgroup will be the largest power of Q dividing order of G. For example, in this case, the order of the Q Euler subgroup will be Q power N, order of the P Euler subgroup will be P power K. But in this case, we have just P power P into Q. Okay, therefore order of H will be just Q. Okay, good. So we have a subgroup of order Q. Also, this subgroup is unique. Okay. Okay, let's continue. Now, what is GHG? Let's define GHG inverse. So, by GHG inverse, we mean that set of all GHG inverse such that H in H. Okay, G is a fixed number from G. arbitrary element. Okay. Now you can prove that this is a subgroup. Okay. For a subgroup H, GHG inverse will always be a subgroup, and this GHG inverse is also a order of order of H is equal to order of GHG inverse. Okay, this is a general result. How one prove that order of H equal to order of GHG inverse? You define a function f from H to GHG inverse. Uh, define G goes to define H goes to GHG inverse. Okay. We don't want homomorphism anything. We just want a bijection. Okay. One can prove that this map is a bijection. Therefore, cardinality of H equal to cardinality of GHG inverse. So, we conclude that this GHG inverse is a another subgroup of order Q. But we just conclude that the number of Q Silo subgroup is 1. Therefore, in the order Q, there will be only one group, that is H only. So this GHG inverse is also has order Q, means that these two things should be equal. So we conclude that GHG inverse equal to G for all G. This implies H is a normal subgroup of G. Okay. So whatever we seen here, this is the proof. Yeah, if a silo subgroup is unique, then it is normal. Okay, so this is the proof, because if a silo subgroup is unique, yeah, you can always consider this subgroup. Okay, then this subgroup will also have the same cardinality. Therefore, we conclude that GHG inverse equal to H. Sorry for the typo. H for all G, but this is a equivalent condition for a subgroup to be normal. If GHG inverse equal to H for all G in G, then H is a normal subgroup. Okay. Therefore, we conclude that the Q silo subgroup is normal in G. Similarly, we prove that so if so far we haven't used the condition that B doesn't divide Q minus 1. Okay, so you take any group of order PQ with P and Q are primes, and Q is the largest prime, then the silo subgroup corresponds to the largest subgroup, largest prime will always normal. Okay, so let's look at the smallest prime now. So now number of P silo subgroup is of the form 1 plus PK, and this 1 plus pk should divide p. For the same reason, 1 plus pk and p are relatively prime, therefore 1 plus pk should divide q. But q is a prime. What are its possible divisors? This should be either 1 or this should be just a q. Okay. So 1 plus p, suppose we claim that this is not possible. Number of number of p silos subgroups cannot be q. Okay. Suppose number of p silo subgroups equal to q. This implies k equal to q minus 1 by p. But we assumed that p doesn't divide q minus 1. Here only we are using our assumption. Okay. Since p doesn't divide q minus 1, this is a fraction, not an integer. But we want k to be a non-negative integer. Okay. When I define k, I said that k should be a non-negative integer. Since p doesn't divide q minus 1, this k is not an integer. Therefore, this case is not possible. So 1 plus pk equal to 1. So, but this number is the number of p silo subgroup. So we get number of p silo subgroup is 1. If a p silo subgroup is 1, then it is normal. We just saw the proof. Okay. Okay. So we have now two p silo subgroups. Okay. One is of order q. This p silo subgroup, I call it k. Okay. So another one q silo subgroup of order q, another p silo subgroup of order k, and what is its intersection? Order of its intersection is 1. Okay, why? Because H intersection k is a subgroup of both H and k. Okay, therefore, since H intersection k is a subgroup of H, H intersection k, order of H intersection k should divide q by Lagrange's theorem. Since order of H intersection k, since H intersection k is a subgroup of k, order of H intersection k should divide p. Therefore, order of H intersection k is a common divisor of p and q. But p and q are distinct primes, therefore they are relatively prime. So the only possible common divisor is 1. So we conclude that order of H intersection k is 1. Okay. Now we have a simple lemma, but very very important lemma. Okay, H is a normal subgroup of G. So this is a notation for normal subgroup. H is a normal subgroup of G. K is a normal subgroup of G. and their intersection is singleton E. Okay, so yeah, H intersection order of H intersection K equal to 1 means that H intersection K is actually singleton E. Okay, because it is a subgroup of order 1 means it is singleton identity. Okay, okay, let's continue. Then you have a two normal subgroup whose intersection is identity. Then every element of here commutes with every element of here. Hk equal to kh for all h in h and k in k. That is the lemma. Let's prove it. You take a h in h and k in k. Okay. Now k is a normal subgroup in G. Correct. Therefore, you have taken k belongs to k and h is an element of h. In particular, h is an element of G. Okay. By the definition of normal subgroup, you take an element of k and an element of G. Then hk h inverse will be an element of k. Okay. So we get hk h inverse belongs to k. Now k is an element of k and k is a subgroup. Therefore, k inverse is also an element of k. So this is an element of k and k inverse is an element of k. Their product hk h inverse k inverse belongs to k. Similarly, h is an element of h. Therefore, h inverse will be an element of h. Now k is an element of k means k is an element of h g, right? Okay. Therefore, uh, I conjugate H inverse. H inverse is an element of H. K can be thought of as an arbitrary element of G. Therefore, this conjugation will be an element of H because H is a normal subgroup. Okay. Now again, H is an element of H. This is an element of H. Therefore, H times this element will be belongs to H. So we conclude that this particular element belongs to both H and K. Therefore, they belongs to intersection, but intersection is identity. So we conclude that this element is should be equal to the identity element. Okay. Okay. So this is H index k equal to singleton E is is our assumption. So this element belongs to intersection means that this element should be equal to E. So we conclude that Hk equal to Kh. So and we have taken H and K arbitrary element. So we conclude that our required conclusion Hk equal to Kh. Now we use this result. Okay. Because we have a p Silo subgroup in G, q Silo subgroup in G, their intersection is normal. We proved both of them are normal because of p doesn't divides q minus 1 condition. Therefore, we can use this result in our setting. So, by the above lemma, every element of the p Silo subgroup H commutes with every element of the q Silo subgroup K. Okay. Now, order of the q Silo subgroup is Q. Q is a prime, therefore it is a cyclic group. And also we take a generator of H. Okay. So order of A will be Q because it is a generator. Order of K, the subgroup Q P Silo subgroup is P. So it is a prime order, therefore it is cyclic. So let B be a generator of K. Very good. So order of B will be P. Okay. Now we calculate what is order of AB. Order of AB will be LCM of order of A into order of B. If a and B commutes. Okay. Here only we are using the lemma. So by our lemma, every element of H commutes with every element of K. Why? Because H is a normal subgroup, K is a normal subgroup, their intersection is identity. Therefore, by our this lemma, this element A will commute with B. So we can apply this result. So we get order of AB equal to LCM of P and Q. Order of A is Q. I think I have written it wrong way, but yeah, it is fine. Order of A is Q, order of B is P. LCM of P and Q will be PQ. So what we get is we got an element AB whose order is PQ. AB is an element of G whose order is PQ, but G itself is a group of order PQ. Therefore, we conclude that G is a cyclic group. Okay, it is a very simple but very nice problem. You learn many important group theory things from this problem. Therefore, now we come back to this problem. So 77 is 7 into 11 and this is PQ, Q minus 1 equal to 10 and 7 doesn't divides 10. P doesn't divides Q minus 1. Therefore, we get any group of order 77 is cyclic. Therefore, G is isomorphic to Z77. Okay, if G itself is isomorphic to Z77, it is a cyclic group, in particular abelian group. For abelian group, for abelian group, its center will be whole group. Therefore, the center of G is isomorphic to uh, Z77. Okay, okay, guys. If you learn something new from this video, if you like this video, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. Okay, guys. Thank you.